Hey guys, welcome back to Live Laugh Lockdown. This is the second episode of our short series. And we are joined by our hosts, Trevor, Jordans, and myself, Gabrielle. Today, we're going to talk a little about activities to do while listening to music and how they can affect each other. We talked a little about this last week about like studying while listening to music or trying to go to sleep while listening to music. And today we're going to delve more into that. So why don't we start with studying? We'll open the floor. What kind of music do you guys listen to while studying?
I listen to like mostly kind of like pop or R&B music. I don't like listening to anything that's too loud when I'm listening to music, or sometimes I'll listen to kind of like soundtracks from like games or shows that I've played or watched in the past. And a lot of times, like I really don't care if it has like lyrics or not in it, because I kind of just do this like weird thing where I put like headphones in, and then I study and then I tune out the music. So it's like very kind of roundabout, since like if like there's like people around me like talking and stuff, I'll listen to music so I can tune them out, and then I'll tune out the music so I can study. So it's just like really extra for like no reason, but it works for me. So that's like part of the reason I don't really care if there's lyrics or not in said music. So it's generally speaking R&B or pop music, but it can also depend on a certain degree.
You know, I'm anime music all day. But I know it seems like I'm repeating myself constantly, but I mean, honestly, yeah. But no, I'm kind of in the same boat as Trevor, actually. I tend to not really think it matters whether there's lyrics in it or not. Like, I'll just chill to anything. But when I'm studying, I usually like either just kind of like anime music because or any kind of songs like that don't have any lyrics in the background, or like very calm lyrics. If it's too hardcore, I might get distracted. And um, yeah, it just sets a different mood for when I'm studying. Like yeah.
It sounds like both of you are the opposite of me. I listen to very like upbeat rock music. I also listen to video game soundtracks. If you're familiar with the game Crypt of the Necrodancer, it's got an amazing soundtrack, like a beautiful, just like electro rock music. And I love listening to it while studying because for me, the loud music or loud, like upbeat, super energetic music, it's like motivation to continue studying. But at the same time, Trevor, your point about listening to music to tune out the music makes sense to me. I do the same, where I use music as a way to tune out the world so I can focus on studying. And that usually means I end up tuning out the music as well.
Right. Wait, I thought you said at one point that you don't like lyrics when you're studying, or don't like music with lyrics.
Yeah, I don't listen to music with lyrics because I find it too distracting. I guess maybe for me, it's I hear words and that like triggers I have to listen. Someone's talking to me, and so I listen to the words. And often that distracts me from reading. Again, at least that's when I'm doing like reading homework. If I'm doing maybe writing homework or no, I don't even think writing. But yeah, there's very little I can do where I can listen to lyrics and still focus on both at the same time.
Well, I mean, here's the trick. Is like I just don't listen to people when they talk. So it's
That's me, Trevor. It's okay.
That is
like I hear too much noise. I hear too much noise. I just have to turn up the music in order to like just drain them out. Mm-hmm. But it's also kind of like a hard question to answer as well. Like I know what I listen to and I know what helps me to study, but at the same time, it's hard to kind of answer that as well because it's like I don't know. It's kind of like you listen to other things, and yet I don't know. Yeah, it's just a hard thing for me. But I mainly rather listen to music without lyrics if possible. But if there are lyrics, I'd rather them happen to be like calm lyrics or not that upbeat, but kind of like a chill vibe upbeat.
So it seems like the general consensus with music and studying is people use music to like tune out other distractions or possibly, like in my case, motivate. Generally, we would try to avoid music that makes us focus too much on the music and not the studying. Uh, so there's a healthy balance there.
Yeah.
And I think like at least I remember growing up, a lot of the study music people would listen to was classical. It was always classical, which feeds into, I think, what we talked about yesterday, or not yesterday, last week, the Mozart Effect or classical music makes you focus more, which the general consensus between us.
I promise.
The general consensus was it's not just classical music. What I've noticed now, the study music seems to be like a common study music genre is like lo-fi hip hop.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like slightly detuned. Since like I listen to it sometimes, so like on occasion, just like it doesn't sound. Well, it sounds like very retro, and I think it's like one of the reasons why people like it. It's like very retro, kind of very calming. I remember one time when we were at like a study space that's opened up. It's usually been used for concert halls, and we listened to some lo-fi music, and I was like pretty productive then. So it works to my surprise a little bit, since before that I hadn't really tried it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does seem that music is generally used to help with studying this calmness, or at least not stressful music or music outstanding in any way. What I call elevator music or like background music to help you focus on something else. The other common thing that people listen to or do, or scenario that people listen to music while doing something is, that's a sentence, working out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Jordan agrees, Trevor agrees, yeah.
Yeah. For that, funny enough, that's where I use like the upbeat rock, hip hop, pop music that you use for studying. So like if we like swap playlists, or just like I want to work out and you want to study. So yeah, generally speaking, use like more up tempo music when working out, but it kind of varies. Like I'll use like slower music at the warm up and cool down of the workout, and then usually I'll kind of cater songs that are like faster or more intense, like once I start doing the workout as well. So
Yeah, you already know I have to do upbeat when I work out. They're the reason why I listen to Cardi B when I work out. So, and it also has the fact of what the lyrics are in the song as well. I always have to I always listen for the lyrics and like point out if there's like that confidence or that boldness that I'm looking for in order to like get myself back on my feet. And Cardi's just a person to do it most of the time. I mean, most of the songs are a little bit extreme, but it's just that side of her. That's the confidence that she brings. So I think it's just also like kind of like not just about whether the music is upbeat or not, or upbeat or like chill vibes. It also depends on what the artist is trying to portray and what it's trying to say. So Cardi B, sometimes, who am I thinking about? sometimes Nicki Minaj, not really, but it's mainly just Cardi B because I just love her, the confidence that she brings out, and that helps me to be better.
Right, and like a lot of her music's actually like super upbeat as well. It's like 120 BPM at minimum. We'll get to that a little later. Or we can talk about it now, depending.
Let's talk about it now. The magic number 120. In music, we measure, there's tempo, and that's how fast you play a piece, a series of notes, and it's measured in beats per minute. And so the magic number we're talking about is 120 beats per minute. So that's just a general tempo. And for workouts, there's been research done into why a lot of people naturally drift towards music that is at 120 about when they work out. And it's been discovered that a very comfortable pace when running or doing cardio is at 120 BPM. Since most people walk at about 60 BPM, which if you ever want to know what 60 BPM is, if you have a watch or anything that has a second hand, every second is one beat for 60 BPM. And a lot of people walk at that tempo. So when you run, doubling that is generally a pretty steady pace. So music at 120 BPM, you can actually run in tempo, in beat with the music, which also just feels it feels really cool when you're running and you're hitting the ground with the beat.
Right.
Yeah.
The common song I think genre or song that I kind of think of in terms of 120 BPM is actually marches. Most marches are at 120 BPM. So it's kind of da 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 da. I don't know why, but just because it works since it's usually at that tempo. So I think it would be a lot of fun to just when you're going on a run, thinking of a march as you're going on. With cardio, so it makes it a little bit more fun, more tolerable, depending on how much you like or hate cardio.
I think that's important to also go to is the fact that people like running at music with around 120 or listening to pop songs with awesome lyrics and motivational lyrics is because it's fun and motivational and one makes you want to work out or want to continue working out.
I also noticed something. I also noticed something. It was something where you were talking about the pace. I definitely noticed. I noticed something, especially when I work out most of the time, that when people are listening to certain music when they work out, they try to match with the beat. And so I don't know if it's just by instinct or you just probably don't realize it until later on. But I find myself doing that a lot. And it's I want to keep up with the music so that way I'm I know how fast and how slow I'm going. And, even if it's that's just a musician in me. But it's just if I match a quarter note or if I want to go faster, I can go an eighth note, I can go 16 note. I can go on and on and on. But I always try to match the pace of the music with my workout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's even worse since in high school I was in marching band, so my feet had to be in time with the music that I was playing as well. So a lot of times outside of band, I would be listening to music. It would just naturally be in time. I could be listening to a slow piece, fast piece. It was almost irrelevant. It was in some sort of time. I'm not sure if it's a musician thing or if it's specific or if people are just naturally like that, but I'm definitely with you there.
With walking, I don't know many people who aren't musicians. I don't know many non-musicians who walk in beat with music, or at least without consciously trying to. But for running, it definitely is actually very common for people listening to music to just fall in beat. In fact, there are a lot of Spotify playlists or playlists on all kinds of music platforms that are running music. And if you check the tempo for most of those pieces, they all average between like 120, 140 BPM.
Yeah, and I think like the next most common kind of tempo is 144. So it's probably like 120 or 144. Market it. Or 132.
Yeah, it's interesting that like people naturally want to find like that rhythm, or when they hear that rhythm, they'll just fall in step with that rhythm. And there's been research done that shows that running while listening to music can cause or can let people run longer, or they can like work out longer than if they don't have that music.
Yeah, it kind of goes with the idea of, well, like last semester me and Gabby had like word about the music and healing, and one aspect of music that we talked about is like music is like synchronous, but it could be this like in this instance be synchronous with itself. When people want to run, they just people really want to lock in, and it has like the additional benefits there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we can see that when these like you see people working out together. I've noticed that a lot of times when you have like 2 or 3 people running together, they start running in beat together. Like they'll take the same running steps, like they'll run in beat, which is like, yeah, we humans naturally like to sync in with each other or their environment, which, you know, might have animalistic survival nature tied to it. I don't know, but it does seem to be a common trait amongst people.
Yeah, like and one thing I think army people do, like this is like going back to like just like things that people did when I was in marching band, but we would have to like run and stuff, and people would actually like do like yell chants and run in time with each other as they're running. And then it was like, and then like I think I asked them, I was like, "Why are you guys doing this?" It's like, well, just to distract from the running, so it makes the running more tolerable. Going back to what Gabby was just saying, with helps them like run longer. So it has like a lot of different things at play there.
Yeah, it's funny how when listening to music while running, it like distracts you from running and lets you run longer, while listening to music while studying like actually focuses you on studying.
Right.
Or can, depending on the music you listen to.
Right. It's just
music both distracts and focuses, yeah. And like continuing on with motivation, obviously that can, you know, motivation music, it's not limited to just working out. Like I definitely listen to motivational music, like upbeat music when I'm like cleaning my room or doing chores. Is it like even like sometimes dancing along to it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Guilty as that as well.
Yeah, it makes it more fun to do things, you know.
I need my music.
Although us being music students, maybe we do like listen to music, over listen to music, or dance.
We're addicted, guys.
No. I mean, we were talking about dancing to the Wii theme, so like
maybe.
maybe we're just weird. Maybe not.
No, that can't be it. I refuse to believe. No.
So we talked with studying and workout. They both like involve either motivation or like tuning out the world. And returning to that idea of like tuning out or calming, there's a kind of concept that I want us to discuss, and that's deep listening. So there's lots of like different versions of deep listening depending on like the medium you do. Like you can have music deep listening, just like average speech deep listening. The one where I want to talk about though was led up by Pauline Oliveros, who was a musician, a composer. She created this program as an idea of helping people learn how to listen more. I have a quote here that like is her describing it. It's a way of listening in every possible way to everything possible, to hear no matter what you're doing. So the program she has for deep listening was to help honestly just learn how to listen closer. So unlike studying, where you listen to music to help focus on studying, this is more of listening to the music and just focusing solely on the music. Although for her program would include moving, meditation, with the intention of deepening person's listening skills, but also helping calm them down. And this is something that I think, as musicians, we do quite a bit of. It's just in our job description is that we need to be able to listen to music and focus solely on the notes and the emotions, the feelings. We have a lot to listen to when we listen to music. Now, we don't follow the Oliveira's method because she has a very specific method of deep listening. But the general concept of deep listening is something that a lot of musicians do, and a lot of people from different careers and studies do as well. But we're not always aware of it or aware that it has a term. And this is, I think deep listening is a great way, especially during stressful, difficult times, just sitting down and listening to music or even listening to your surroundings, almost like a form of meditation, just more oral than physical.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts or experiences on that?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Since like sometimes what I'll do is I'll like blatantly like not listen to music all that much. Since like or not listen to music as I'm like going from place to place. And it's like a good like 80, maybe 90% of the time I do listen to music, but sometimes I just don't, just so that way. Since a part of it has to deal with just kind of being like a palate cleanser, since sometimes like I have a kind of a hard time hearing if I listen to music too much, and then also just kind of hear like what's going on around me and stuff like that. So like I think I kind of incorporate some level of like deep listening into my day-to-day life. Just like not as much as I probably should be. Maybe I need to listen to 433 a few times by John Cage. Complete silence.
Yeah, that's a great piece to actually, yeah, that is like the whole point of that piece really is deep listening.
Right.
Those of you who don't know, I was just looking up John Cage, 433. It's a piece by John Cage, but involves no music playing. The musician sits with their originally piano, sits at the piano, but doesn't make any noise, doesn't play anything. And the whole point is to get the audience to actually pay more attention to the sounds around them and also the atmosphere. Because the musician isn't just sitting there not playing anything. They're sitting there and giving off almost like an aura, like they're supposed to sit there but think or like have emotions going through. And it helps, it's a great piece to help teach audiences how to deep listen. I totally forgot about John Cage 433.
Yeah, like well, part of the reason why I remember it just because of the fact that it's like I thought it was just like nothing when I initially heard it, but then I learned about like the fact that it's like supposed to be more about meditating and stuff like that. And part of the reason I remember, since I've actually played a John Cage piece before, it was more not more abstract per se, but it was just like it had like more musical notes, more playing in it. So I also just like partially remembered John Cage's 433. But yeah, it's like I think like that's a good example of just like being able to like just like or a reminder, just kind of listen to your surroundings or not always blast things in your ear.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I do a poor job on that though, because I always feel like I'm in the need that I have to listen to music all the time in order to like just kind of get me in the zone. Like every time don't listen to music, I mean, it's just, I mean, of course I'm like paying attention what's around me, but I'm always also that kind of a person that like I rather do my own thing. If there's trouble, I'm moving out. So I try not to get involved in too much. So I think of music as a way of me escaping reality in a way. Um, which is why I mostly don't know much of anything. But um but I think I also have like some kind of like animal instincts where like even when I am listening to music most of the times, I'm always like aware of like what's going on around me at the same time. So I'm kind of like in between two realms instead of in one or the other. So that's just that's just my way of seeing it. But I do think what Gabby said earlier it made a lot of sense. I'm like, we need to be around. What was it? Oh my god, I short circuited for a minute. But what Gabby said earlier, I definitely thought it made a lot of sense now that I've like heard it a lot more clear. But yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah, music is a great way of escaping from our world, escaping from reality, um, either to help, um, like emotionally, you're like stressed out and you just want to listen to good music and you want to tune out the world. If you just need to tune out the world to focus on one thing, like working out or studying. Um, and I think a lot of times people emphasize that aspect of music is the escaping through music. But yeah, it is important to remember music can also help ground us, and that it is uh, even like the lack of music can help ground us, or listening to um, music specifically designed for deep listening or meditation, like drones, can really help us reground ourselves, uh, ourselves with reality, with other people, and sometimes we do need a break from listening to too much music and um, focus on sounds around us. I find that I really like doing that when I'm ever like out on a walk in like a nature park. We're lucky enough to have a beautiful nature park right near us, and it's always fun to just go out. And I usually listen to music while I walk to the nature park. But once I'm there, I just want to take the headphones off and listen to nature, the sound of birds or water. Yeah, if any listeners like have a park or some outdoor space near them, it is a great way of both escaping reality, the stresses of reality, but continuing to ground yourself in reality. Is to just listen to nature, like calming nature. If you don't, there's also lots of I've done this. You just listen to a lot of recordings of nature. Um, if you don't have a place, if you live in a busy city, um, YouTube, Spotify. Yeah, not right now. We live in a small town with a nature park. Not right now, where we are.
Like, I was like, I live in the city. Not like, yeah, I'm like, I feel like Rapunzel whenever I'm back at like home, because I'm like on the top floor of my apartment, and all I hear is like ambulances and cars. And like, if I just need to go for a walk, I just like kind of walk to the inner harbor because it's like I'm happy when I'm near water.
Yeah, That's another good point. Like finding natural noise that makes you happy in your area is also good. You don't need to just have headphones on and listen inside your room, but actually going out to some place with noise, any kind of noise. Maybe cars, like city noises is relaxing for you. Then listen to that. Do that. Listen to what you need.
Who knows?
If you haven't already, finding out or like being able to place what kind of music you, the listeners, find relaxing, find motivating, is helpful. It can help you in different scenarios, like if you're feeling stressed and you don't know how to calm down, like you now know there's a certain kind of music or sound that you can listen to help. So yeah, I was just finding what music helps you escape from reality, what music helps motivate you, helps you focus, and like what music can also help you ground, or sounds helps you ground yourself back in reality, but in a non-stressful way. Thank you for listening in. Come next week, we'll be discussing about music therapy and therapeutic music. And we'll remind ourselves to give a disclaimer at the beginning of that episode, but we'll also throw the disclaimer here now. None of us are music therapists. None of us are studying or training to be music therapists. But there are resources. But again, Trevor and I have taken a class on music and therapy, and we got to meet and talk with a certified music therapist. And there's lots of resources online that talk about what music therapy is. So join us next week to hear about what music therapy is and how everything we have discussed so far is not music therapy. All right, well, have a good week, everyone. Bye.